everyone, this is Hafizullah Masoudi and you're watching From Code with Hafiz. I welcome you to the ninth video of this series where we will discuss some useful topics in HTML. So I will cover HTML style guide, HTML entities, HTML symbols and HTML emojis. So first of all, a consistent, clean and tidy HTML code makes it easier for others to read and understand your code. So I will show you some guidelines and tips for creating a good HTML code. First of all, always make sure to declare the document type at the very beginning. So if we get back to our text editor, you can see at the top we have declared our doc type HTML. So always make sure to declare the doc type at the top. Next up, always use lowercase element names. Well, HTML allows you to mix uppercase and lowercase letters in element names. However, that's not recommended because it will make names look bad, and other developers normally use lowercase names because it looks cleaner and easier to write. So if we see here, you can see all of our tags or tag names or element names are written in lowercase. So if we scroll down, as you can see, all the elements are written in lowercase names. So keep this in mind. Next up, always remember to close all elements in a document. For example, the ones that need to be closed or are not empty, as you must know that empty elements does not have a closing tag and does not hold any content. For example, the image tag or the HR tag or the BR tag, etc. And non-empty elements or tags that hold content must be always closed. Well, you can close empty elements also, but it is optional. So in here, if we check out our document, you can see we have opened each element and then we are closing it. As you can see, for this paragraph we are opening the p tag and then we are closing it. And if we check out an image tag, so do we have an image tag? Yeah, this one is an image tag. You can see it does not have a closing tag, but it's optional, and if you want to close it at the very end of the starting tag, you can just put a slash like this. So it will mean that this tag is also closed. Now next up, always use lowercase attribute names because same as I explained why you should write your element names in lowercase, it is also recommended to write the attribute names in lowercase. So to prevent from the names looking bad, or because developers normally use lowercase and it looks cleaner and is easier to write. So that's the reason you should always write the attribute names in lowercase. So in here you can already see that the source attribute is written in lowercase, the width attribute is also lowercase, and the alt attribute is also lowercase. And if we check out other attributes in here, they will be all written in lowercase names. Now next up, always quote attribute values because developers normally quote attribute values and it's easier to read, and if the value contains any space between, so it's a must to use quotes. For example, in here you can see for the href attribute the value is /html and we are declaring the value inside these double quotes. Well, you can use single quotes also, but the double quotes are more usual to use. So suppose we have two words in an attribute. So for example, in this one, so let's say this in here we want to say example image. So let's say example image, and what do you think if we remove the attribute? So let's remove it. Well, you can see it will take this first one, but the second word will not be taken for this attribute. So always try to write the values for the attributes inside quotes. Now next up, always try to specify the alt attribute for the images, because for some reason if the image does not load, the reader must know that there is an image by seeing the alternative text for the image. As you can see in here, for this image we are already specifying this alt attribute which says example image. And if we, for example, create some kind of error here, So let's say we want this 12th image which is not available in the folder, and if we go to the browser now, as you can already see, it is showing the alternative text. So let's get back to our text editor, and next up what we have is that you must always specify the width and height for the images to reduce flickering, because browsers can reserve a space for the image before loading it. So always keep in mind to declare the width and the height for the image. So in here the width is declared, but we don't have any height, and the width is only enough for the image. So if you don't declare a height for the image, it will be auto. So keep that in mind. Now next up, HTML allows spaces around equal signs, but spaceless equals are easier to read and groups entities better together. So to show you this one, and what I mean is that if you put a space in here, as you can see, it's always also alright, but always try to not put a space between the or after the equal signs. Now next up, always try to avoid long code lines. So in here, if we check out our document, we don't have any long code line. So if we scroll down, yeah, we don't have any kind of a long code line. So what I mean is, always try to, for example, let's make this one a long code. So I will remove the enters for this one, and let's say for this one also. So you can already see, well, my text editor is wrapping this, but if yours is not, you will have a scroll in here, or horizontal scroll, which will take you to the right side of the text editor. So what I mean is, always try to prevent writing your code like this, because it will make the reader, or it will make hard for the reader to read your code. So when using an HTML editor, it is not convenient to scroll right and left to read the HTML code. So always try to avoid too long code lines. Now next up, always write the title for your web page, because it will define a title in the browser toolbar, and it will also provide a title for the page when it is added to favorites, and it's also important for search engine results. So to show you this one, let's scroll to the top, and in here you can see we are already declaring our title for this document. Now next up, what we have is, always write your HTML tag and your body tag, because if you do not include the HTML and body element in your HTML documents, it will be still validated, but it's strongly recommended to always add the HTML and body tags, because omitting these tags will produce errors in older browsers and can also crash the DOM and XML software. And it's also recommended to add the head element or the head section in your documents, and besides that, it's also recommended to include the language or lang attribute inside the HTML tag to declare the language of the web page to assist search engines and browsers. As you can see in here, we are declaring the lang attribute, and its value is English, and the country is United States. So to ensure proper interpretation and a correct search engine indexing, both the language and a character encoding meta tags should be defined as early as possible in all your HTML documents. So in here you can see we have the lang attribute, and we also have the character set. So these are also important. Now next up, what we have is setting the viewport, and it's also pretty important. So to give the browser instructions on how to control the page's dimensions and scaling. So to show you an example of this one, I don't have a live example, but I do have a screenshot which I will open now. So in here you can see two screen types or two screens which are same, but in one which is at the left, you can see it's kind of not readable, and it's because we don't have the viewport meta tag in our document. But the right one, which can be read easily, and this is because we have declared the viewport or meta tag of viewport for this document. So this is the difference if you do not include the meta tag of viewport or if you include it. Now next up, always write comments for better understanding, because it will make it easier for other people or developers who watch your code to understand what have you written. So in here we don't have any comments, or actually we do have one, but it's not for information. It's only added to remove this link of style sheet. So keep this in mind that comments can be used to make some reference to your code, that what actually your code means. And finally, for your file names, always use lowercase names and always write file extensions completely. For example, for this file I have named it index, which is all in lowercase, and then we have dot, and after that we have the extension, which is a complete extension, and it's HTML. Now this was all about HTML style guide. Now let's discuss HTML entities. So guys, some characters are reserved in HTML. For example, if you use less than sign or a greater than sign in your text, and the browser might mix them with tags. So for this reason we have HTML entities which can be used to display reserved characters in HTML. So to show you some examples, let's scroll down here and remove all of these tags which we don't need, or let's comment it, guys. So I will add a comment here, and let's close our comment tag at the bottom. So let's close it here. Now let's scroll to the top and let's press enter here. So to declare or to use an HTML entity to declare a greater sign or a less than sign, what we can do is let's say and then LT and semicolon, and you can see its color has been changed. And now if we go to the browser and if I refresh, now you can see we have our less than sign. So in here you can see the LT stands for less than, but we also have code for it. And to use the less than sign code, we can put a hash here, and then we can say 60. So let's save this, and now if we get back to the browser, refresh again, you can see we still have our less than sign. So you can use both entity name or entity number, but while using an entity name it is easy to remember, but browsers may not support all entity names, but the support for entity numbers is good. So keep this one in mind. Now a commonly used entity in HTML is the non-breaking space, and to show you this one, let's create a paragraph. So in here I will create a paragraph first. So let's put the ending tag, and inside here let's declare a paragraph. So let's say this is a paragraph, and now let's remove this space from here, and if you go back to the browser, yeah, this is our paragraph. Now let's use the HTML entity to put a space between this A and paragraph. So what we can do is let's say and then NBSP and then semicolon, and if we save this, get back to the browser, refresh, now you can see we have a space in here. So it's the most common one that you may see in many web pages, and that's the reason I showed you this one. So to see the full list of HTML entities, let's search for HTML entities in the Google. So let's open a new tab and search for HTML entities and press enter, and let's go to this first link, which is from W3 Schools. So in here you can see it says what are HTML entities, so we can use them for the reserved characters in HTML. And if we scroll down in here, well, you can read the documentation here, but what I'm interested in is in here. So in here some of the useful HTML character entities are declared for you that you can use. So we have the less than sign, greater than sign, and we have this ampersand and double quotation and all other HTML entities. And you can also see the copyright sign, so which is this one. So to create this one, you can see we can use the name entity or we can use the number entity. So to copy this one and get back to our text editor, and if we paste it here, so let's paste it here, and now if we get back to the browser and our project tab, you can see we have our copyright assigned. So let's get back to HTML entities. So to see the full list of HTML entities, let's go to this HTML symbols, and in here if we scroll down, you can see we have the full math reference, and if we scroll down a little bit more, we have the full Greek reference, and if we scroll down a little bit more, you can see we have the full currency reference, full arrows reference, full symbols reference. So guys, we can display any HTML entity or symbol by using its name code or number code in our HTML documents. So keep this in mind. Now finally, what we have is the HTML emojis that we can display using entity numbers. So each emoji has an entity number, same as HTML entities, and because emojis are also characters. So let me show you an example, and for that we are already in the W3 Schools website, and in the left sidebar you can see we have this HTML emojis. So let's click on it, and if we scroll down a little bit, yeah, you can see for this smiley emoji we have this code, and for this other one we have other code, and for the heart we have this code. So to use one, let's copy this and let's get back to our text editor and let's paste this one. So let's get back to browser, and if we refresh now you can see we have our emoji character. So to see the full list of emojis also, let's get back to the W3 Schools website, and in here if we scroll down a little bit, we will find the full reference. So you can see we have all of these emojis with their value. So let's scroll down, and in here you can see for a full list, please go to our HTML emoji reference, and if we click on it, now you have all the emoji list in here, so you can copy their code. So for example, for this watch, let's copy this and let's say and hash and then the code and semicolon, and if we save it, get back to the browser, refresh, now you can see we have our watch emoji. So guys, this was for today, and this being done, our video has come to an end. I hope you enjoyed watching the video, and if so, don't forget to give the thumbs up and a nice comment also. And if you are new to this channel, don't forget to subscribe too if you want more videos like this. So thanks for watching, see ya in the next video.